Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The goal of this video is to dive through the build I'm going to be using on release for my Necromancer. I've been thinking about this build a lot and going through my beta footage and discussing and finding out what would be best for a very summon-focused Necromancer build that is only focused on self-survivability and keeping minions up. Check this build out. This build is focused on maximizing the amount of summons, the amount of corpses on the ground, and your uptime on Blood Mist. It'll allow you to stay invulnerable while your minions are consistently dealing damage and creating corpses, ultimately leading full circle into another refreshed cooldown of Blood Mist. So let's talk through this build and discuss why I chose this path and what I was thinking as I was going through it and my hands-on experience from the betas. First things first, our left click is going to be Decompose, which is going to be a link between you and the enemy that you constantly can channel, and it deals 33% damage per second, and it drops a usable corpse every 2.5 seconds, which is the main reason we want to use this skill. Dropping a corpse every 2.5 seconds is amazing. If an enemy dies while being decomposed, you gain 10 essence, but also you and your minions will deal 10% increased damage to enemies who are being decomposed. This is amazing for bossing, so if you're constantly linking to a boss, all of your minions will deal 10% increased damage. Blight, it unleashes a concentrated blight that deals 42% damage and leaves an area of effect on the ground that deals 112.2 damage over 6 seconds, but on top of that, it slows enemies by 25%, and you and your minions deal 15% increased damage to enemies within that blight. So if you throw that blight down and have Decompose, those damages will stack. Moving forward, we've got Hewed Flesh. This is really, really strong for this build. Your damage is up to a 12% chance to create a corpse at the target's location. This chance is doubled against bosses. Really awesome, because that way you can guarantee your minions are constantly creating corpses. So the Necromancer may not have too much escapability or movement, but it does have one of the strongest invulnerabilities in the game, and that is Blood Mist. Blood Mist makes you immune for 3 seconds, and your movement speed may be reduced, but you periodically deal damage and heal while you're hitting enemies inside your Blood Mist. This is going to be very strong in the end game for the Necromancer and an absolute necessity. There's legendary perks that buff this so that you have Corpse Explosion on your Blood Mist, and when you explode the Corpse Explosion, it reduces the cooldown. So if you have enough corpses out, you essentially have a 0 cooldown on your invulnerability, which is amazing. Also, we want to have Skeletal Warrior Mastery increase the damage and life of your Skeletal Warriors by 45%. Consuming a corpse generates 9 essence, and that goes back to what we were talking about. The end goal is to not have Corpse Explosion be in the build and instead use the explosion from our Blood Mist, but in the beginning you may want to rock Corpse Explosion until you get that legendary aspect. And then you also deal 6% increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming a corpse. This goes up to 9% increased damage after consuming a corpse, and since we're constantly going to be using these corpses to summon and to explode, these are really strong passives for the build. And increase the damage and life of your skeletal mages by 60%. Mages are very strong on the Necromancer. They are your meat and potatoes of the build. They're essentially a machine gun that stays back and just unloads on the enemy. So increasing their damage and life is very, very strong. Oddly enough, the only passive we're going to choose in the summoning tree is going to be Necrotic Carapace. When a corpse is formed, which like what we talked about in the initial tree, every 12% damage you're going to spawn a corpse, you and your minions fortify for 6% of your base life, which is awesome. It's going to keep you topped off on health and keep you and your minions alive. Now into the ultimate tree, increase the damage and life of your golem by 75%, and we're going to rock Army of the Dead. Call forth deep buried dead. Volatile skeletons emerge from over the next 7 seconds and explode when around enemies, dealing 30% damage. So minions are going to non-stop spawn from out of the map and explode on enemies, which is very strong, but it's not the main reason we're wanting to use this ultimate. It's instead going to be a minion reset for us. If we manage to face a boss that could sweep our minions, it's also going to respawn all of our skeletal warriors and mages. So you want to save this ultimate until somehow all your minions are wiped, or if you're in a dire situation when there's not much corpses on the ground, you can hit this and your team will be back completely, which is amazing. Also, whenever Army of the Dead's volatile skeletons explode, they have a 15% chance to also leave behind a corpse, bringing back corpses all over the battlefield. Some of the passives here: every 5 seconds your Skeletal Priest, which is if you're maxed out on your mages and your warriors and you hit the summon button, it's going to summon a priest that's going to heal your skeletons and provide 10% damage buff. This will also heal them for an additional 40% of their max life. Your minions cannot lose more than 45% of their life on a single damage instance, so therefore it will force every single one of your minions to at least take 3 hits before they die, which will be unbelievably strong at end game bosses. After you have been healthy for at least 4 seconds, you and your minions gain 12% attack speed, and then your minions deal 30% increased damage when you are close to them. And when you're going to be using this Blood Mist situation constantly on top of your allies while they're raining insane damage. This synergy is going to be amazing. So last but not least, our key passive that we're going to get at level 50 is after you have not taken damage for the last 3 seconds, your minion gain 15% attack speed. And when you have at least 7 summoned, the bonus is doubled. So 30% attack speed is crazy. We're going to want Reapers as our skeletal warriors. These are the guys that make it so every 15% chance of their swings will create a corpse on the ground, which is going to be perfect for this build. Our skeletal mages, I believe we're going to rock with cold mages for now, just to add some CC to this build. But if we decide we need more damage, going into the shadow skeletal mages is going to be very strong because every 5th attack will create an additional attack, which is just more of that machine gun style mage in the back with their attack speed. In the golems, it's up in the wind right now for exactly what we would want. But I'd like to go with the blood golem, making it so they take 15% of the damage you would take to their own health pool, just adding some more survivability onto the build. One of the strongest thing that this build definitely relies on is this aspect of explosive mist. When you get this on a legendary, pull that aspect and make sure you have it ready for endgame. At least when I'm hoping to find a bunch of these and keep running them throughout, but this makes it so your blood mist triggers corpse explosion, allowing you to eliminate corpse explosion off your build. And whenever it detonates a corpse, it reduces the cooldown of blood mist by up to 0.5 seconds per time. And when you're looking at some of this gameplay, you can tell that my blood mist is never off cooldown. I am constantly able to go invulnerable, which is the reason we're trying to constantly summon all of these corpses on the ground just to ensure that we can always be invulnerable and always have our minions doing max damage. It is so fun and so good, and it really makes the skeletal army build work. Oh, this will work. Okay. So all you have to do to enter in to win a copy of Diablo 4 on my channel is go to my Twitch page and hit the follow button. From there, all you have to do is type into the chat !raffle. When you do such, you should get entry tickets, and I will be drawing them on Friday the 2nd. I'm likely live with this build on Twitch right now. Drop through and say what's up and try to join and get that free copy of Diablo 4. I'll see you guys soon.